We're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome in.
All right. Yes, we are live. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Happy New Year or New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year. I would like to welcome you this morning, but before we start, today's January 1st, 2025. I'm telling you, I feel like 24 kind of just flashed by. And one of the things that about 15 years ago, one of my teachers said something that always kind of lingered in the back of my mind. He said, the more aligned you become, or the more aware you become, the faster time will go for you, because you start to align with, at times in your experience, you're aligning with the no space, no time.
Mm.
And that, yeah, it's been remarkable how fast time has flown the last several years. Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge the tragedy that has happened in New Orleans early this morning. If you have not heard, um, somebody drove through the crowd on Bourbon Street, a time of celebration for the new year, and he killed 10 people and injured 30 people. And I don't have all of the details, but what I'd like to do is just kind of extend our love to everyone involved, particularly friends and family, and just kind of hold them in our hearts, um, because it truly is a devastating experience, and one that should not happen. So
Yeah.
I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that and invite you to just hold them in your hearts for a little bit, for today, for the weeks coming. So, as we start our second episode of our daily trauma talks and truth, we were wondering about what we were going to chat about. And so, before we get started in our conversation, our daily dose of conversation, um, I would like to invite you all to share some topics that you would like for us to talk about. And just in case you don't know us and it's the first time you've come across us, I am Dr. Isela Garcia. I am an intuitive trauma healing guide. And what that really means is I tap into spirit to help you understand what it is that you intended to learn and to experience in this lifetime. I have a long history of working around crisis situations, trauma. So I come from a very trauma informed lens. I'm also a medium, and I think more than anything else, I'm a spiritual teacher. Like, I really come in wanting, I've always been a teacher and wanting to share just my understandings of who we truly are in this experience. Nina, tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, I am Nina Vasquez. I call myself a certified trauma informed life coach. What that means is that I have taken my own healing experiences and then gotten certified as a life coach. And my own healing journey and my experience with healing trauma to serve other, mostly women, but humans, in their healing journey. So I help you really uncover the root of your current suffering, which is often unhealed childhood or adult wounds. And then I help you actually learn how to heal yourself.
So, what's beautiful about this union is that Nina has actually, if you don't know our story, you need to check our story out, because we kind of came together in a very divine, orchestrated sort of experience. And when Nina and I met, all of the sort of dominoes started to really just started to fall, because
Mhm.
it was like we met and there was an intended purpose for it. Nina had a part of her journey that was triggered by that experience,
Mhm.
and she went and got all these like certifications on somatic healing, and started to like connect to her body and figure out how to do that. And what's beautiful about this is that I have a lot of knowledge around somatic healing through my own experience.
Mhm.
But she brings in, because she's done all of the training and work. So I have this like global lens of awareness and of truth and connecting to spirit and learning how to like connect to your guides and your angels and learning how to tap into your intuition. And then Nina brings the part of going, okay, so what is really happening emotionally in your body right now?
Mhm.
How is that, could it be, and how is it getting in the way of you being able to access your intuitive knowing? And
Yeah.
so it really is a nice bridge, and I'm excited to be able to continue to share this work with you all. um
Me
what,
too.
what
And keep going,
okay,
keep
no,
going.
no, no, go ahead,
I
go
want
ahead.
to add to that. I want to add to that because um, if you haven't heard our story of meeting and our journey together, it's really cool. I think it's on the podcast. Yeah, it's on our podcast, but the podcast that I recorded and you recorded, I think.
Mhm.
But what I want you to know about Isela that she may not tell you is that she was a catalyst in my healing journey.
Mm.
I got a reading from her after we met, divinely met at an event. And Isela gave language to my unhealed trauma that I never could put language to before. And that meeting, I mean, I took massive action to heal that trauma over the last 2 years. And it was because of our meeting that I took that action. Now, Isela didn't tell me, go do this, but
Right.
she like named it. And she's like, this is your experience. And this is why. And this is why you experience that. And so I just really want to say that because it feels like a big deal that we're here right now on this live January 1st, 2025. 2 years ago, I would have never thought, right? So it feels like a big deal to me.
It, yeah. I mean, when I think about it, yeah, it was a big deal. It's a big deal because
Yeah.
I think what I offer is really helping you get out of um, our intellectual understanding of our healing and our knowing,
Mhm.
and it always starts there in the space of trying to get information and understand, and we can talk about it, right? A lot of us can get to a place where we talk about, these are the reasons why I am this way. Like,
Yeah.
this happened to me when I was 5, this happened to me when I was 17, this happened to me. And we can tell the story of our experience. But there are things that we ignore, dismiss, and are unable sometimes, because of our level of capacity, to be able to really unwrap and unravel at the deepest level. And when we are unable to do that for whatever reason, to tap into our body, to really connect with our emotional state, and unpack all of the things that we continue to carry around with us. The reason why that's important is because you can't actually create an open channel,
Mhm.
a consistent open channel with spirit, with your highest self, with the truth of who you are, if you are clogged up with shadows, the shadows that you're carrying around.
Mhm.
And the shadows show up in the most inopportune times, and oftentimes comes by way of sabotaging relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And in our inability to really, because we can do a lot of great work on ourselves by ourselves. But the real work, the real test of the work is in relationships with others. And so relationships with others is not just in partnerships, but with family members and with our children. I mean, that becomes where, and I think that's one of our ultimate goals, is to learn how to be in relationship with others.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm super grateful for is that Isela and I are friends
Mhm.
and now going to be co-host of a program together. But also Isela has been a huge mentor to me as I go through my own healing journey. It's always good to have someone that you can trust
Mhm.
and that you feel safe with. And Isela has really been a huge mentor as I keep peeling back the layers of the onion, right? Which is I'm really grateful for that.
I think we all do. I mean, I've had moments because Nina was a coach for me in our early on in our relationship, and still continue. Like there will be moments where I'm like, I'm crying because I'm had an experience, and
Mhm.
so I think what happens is when we do begin to heal, and I just sent a newsletter out on this. We have to find our people. We have to find our community,
Yes.
and especially now with what's happening in the world, and there's so many things happening in the world right now that I could sit here and spend I can spend hours just talking about why it's happening, why all of these things are going on. But I'm not going to do that today.
Okay.
Um, but what I think is important for everyone to hear, if nothing else, hear this. We have to find community. We have to find community. And whether that is your group of friends that you have and you meet on a regular basis, if it's a virtual community, if you have both um, here and virtually and in person, find your people. Find the people you feel safe with, you feel connected with, who will hold you accountable, but also celebrate all of the things that you do and the thing and who you are. Like find your people. And I really, I can't even tell you, like, if there was a scale of how important this is, it's like a 10 plus right now,
Mhm.
because things are going to start to really unravel on our planet.
Mm.
And we need to heal. And because the only way we are going to be able to shift things is by collectively healing, because
Yeah.
we raise then the consciousness, and then that creates this part of the systemic shift that needs to carry the actual experiences that we are having for change to happen. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Energetically, we have to shift in order for change to happen.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we do that in community.
In community. Mhm. Well, let's talk to our community real quick and before we get on our topic. So I see Esperanza. Hi, Esperanza. Happy New Year, sister. Mark, I see Mark. Mark says it's dope to have those around us that can help us work through our shit. Amen, Mark.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, Mark. Who else do you see?
Oh, Stephanie is on.
Ah, hi, Stephanie.
Stephanie,
Happy New Year. Let us know if you're on.
yeah, talk to us. We
Yeah.
want to connect with you. We want to know how things are going, how
Mhm.
you're feeling today. Mark and I did an episode, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So, Mark, if you want to chime in, you can totally chime in with us. Mark and I did an episode on our podcast, Brown and Spiritual AF, on New Year's resolutions. And our episode, God, Mark, I think it was like one of the very first ones we did. I don't know, it was like several years ago. But it was F New Year's resolutions.
Mm.
And I know you all have probably created your list of goals and resolutions. Hi, Stephanie. Happy New Year. All right. So, what are your thoughts about resolutions, Nina?
I really don't like them very much
Why?
because in my experience, I'm a weight loss coach as well, for those of you who don't know. In my experience with coaching, I don't know, hundreds of people probably on New Year's resolutions, is by the time the end of January hits, we've already like thrown in the towel.
Right.
Because we go into New Year's resolutions with this like false sense of perfection. Like I need to go from who I was to who I'm going to be overnight. So I think New Year's resolutions we just do it wrong. So that's why I don't like how we do it. I don't think it's a horrible thing to have an intention for the new year. I definitely have intentions. But when we go into it thinking like, oh, I don't work out at all, and now I'm just going to be the person who works out 6 days a week, and I'm going to be that person by January 14th. And if I'm not, I'm throwing in the towel. We set ourselves up for failure as human beings, because that's not how change happens. So I think if we went into it with like, here's my intention for the new year, and by the end of the year, I'll be this person. Total different story, right? It's like, by next year, I'm going to be the person who prioritizes my wellness. And here's what that looks like. Give yourself that time, right? And then you will be that person. But we just set ourselves up for failure every time. That's my experience.
So I have a story that I tell about this.
Okay.
And if you don't know me, I'm a big storyteller. So if you hate stories, you're going to hate listening to me. Let me tell you.
Impossible. How could you ever hate listening to Isela?
Yesterday, Nina, I started talking about spinach, canned spinach. I had her face. You're like, where the fuck is she going with this?
I loved it. My face is like, my facial expressions are interesting. I know. I've been told that.
It was funny. I'm like, no, stay with me. Okay, so I have a story. Okay, because I talk about change quite a bit. My background is in early childhood education. And let me tell you why stories are important. I know, right, Mark? Who can hate stories? Let me tell you why stories are important. Because when we approach maybe new people that you've never heard, or teachers, or new concepts or perspectives, what happens is the ego is waiting for somebody to say some shit you don't agree with. Okay? So the ego is going, oh, there it is. Nope, that's wrong. Nope, my experience is different. And so the ego is doing that. So when we tell stories, we bypass the ego, because the ego feels less threatened.
Oh my goodness.
And so the ego kind of goes, oh, it's just another story. Let me sit back here and just relax. And so what happens is we relax within the story, and we can actually hear a message without the ego being on high alert.
Okay.
Isn't that fascinating? Because the ego does do that, especially if we're talking about a topic that you feel very, that you have a lot of background and information and knowledge about. You're like, I'm looking for the thing that's wrong about this topic or these people who are presenting this topic. So that's why I tell stories. Okay, so let me tell you a story, because I talk a lot about change. I come from education, and we're constantly in a state of growing and learning and discovering who we are and how we show up for kids and families and all of that stuff. So let's imagine for a moment we are going to create a change. And I'm going to use diet, because a lot of us have experienced, I'm going to change my diet, right? Okay, so when does our diet start, Nina?
Always on Monday.
Okay. It's on Monday. It's so good to do with somebody like you. And a lot of women get this. Starts on Monday. So Monday, I'm going to go on the diet. And it's Saturday, it's Friday, it's the weekend. We're going to just go out to eat, right? We're going to go out to eat because my life is going to change on Monday.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I'm not going to be able to go to my favorite places to eat.
Yeah.
And I also have Oreos and Ding Dongs and chips and all this shit in my pantry. And my God, those things cost money. Like, we can't just throw them away.
Can't waste food.
But what do? We eat it all, right? We eat it all. So we eat all the food. Mm-hmm. And then, because we want this to be a positive experience, we're going to drive our ass to the store and buy a new lunchbox.
Oh, yes.
The nice, pretty one. And we're going to have all the little things that go inside of it. And we have like the containers with the little, sections in it, so that we get exactly the right amount for, our protein and our vegetable and our this and that, and we don't have to think about it, right? And then we drive to the grocery store and we get the chicken and the vegetables, because everybody knows that's what you're supposed to have, are chicken and vegetables, right? But you want to make your life easier, because people also say that if you don't plan out your meals, then you are going to grab anything, right? So you've got to meal plan. Okay. So what does meal planning mean? Okay. I'm going to make all my chicken on Sunday, and I'm going to make all of my little compartments, and I'm going to have them all stacked up, my containers stacked up in the refrigerator. And so I'm going to have Mondays, and I'm going to have Tuesdays, and I'm going to have it all ready so there's not even a question. And I got my pretty lunchbox, bam, I'm ready to go. So Monday, I'm fire. Like Monday, I eat my meal, my chicken, my vegetables. I feel good. This is my whole life is about to change right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, the chicken is starting to be a little bit dry, right? Because it's been sitting there. It doesn't feel, it's just been sitting there. So it's not as, so I'm going to wet it a little bit, kind of moisten it, right? And then Wednesday's Maria's birthday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we always do, and in where I used to work, we did chorizo con huevo, and we did, burritos. It's so funny. Nina's reading my book, my first book, and we have this conversation about burros or burritos. I grew up saying burros, so we have huevos con chorizo burro. So that's a tortilla wrapped with chorizo and eggs. And, we do that on celebrations, and then we bring cupcakes. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Not going to have any.
Change my life, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then there's this little part within us, okay? This little voice, and this comes from our emotional center, that starts to say, but you don't want to miss out.
Mm-hmm.
But you always do this. And then if you work with the people that I work with, who are a bunch of food pushers,
Food pushers everywhere.
My thing used to tell me, she's like, yeah, it's just air. Don't worry about it. And then in the second time I see her, she's like, ay, qué grande te pusiste. Look at how heavy you've gotten. I'm like, you don't. And so you don't want to miss out. And you don't want to not be a part of the group. And everyone's saying, but we brought one for you.
You don't want them to think you are thinking you're too good.
Yeah.
To eat that.
So there's this voice inside of us that's kind of pulling us, right? Mm-hmm. And that comes from our emotional center. And our prefrontal cortex, which is here, that's the rational part of our brain that's giving all the, it knows all of the things. What to do, how to do it, when to do it, because you've read the books, you've done all the things. But that emotional center is like, but. And there are lots of things that go into play with this. Sometimes we self-sabotage. Sometimes, there's so many things that we might feel we're undeserving of. That's running on the undercurrent of this experience of change that we want to propel into. Mm-hmm. And some of us, and I say us collectively because I think everyone does this at some point or another, we lie to ourselves. So we don't speak the truth. We say what we think we're supposed to say and do. Mm. And so change isn't a matter of making a decision that you're going to do something. Because your prefrontal cortex, that's up here where your executive function is, it knows all of the things. But your body, your nervous system, the part of you that's holding on to old stories is kind of like, the people in the background kind of talking shit about somebody else. Yeah. That's what's happening. That part of you is talking shit about the prefrontal cortex who wants to make these changes. Mm-hmm. So it's New Year's resolutions. It's not about making a decision and then doing it, because all of the things have to fall into place as well. And if we understand change, it just takes 21 to 25 consistent experiences for our brain to start to create neurosynaptic connect, just to begin to connect, mm-hmm. to begin to just form these new patterns of behavior, while your emotional center is saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Nina, did you ever in your journey of weight loss, did you ever watch one of those infomercial exercise shows on.
Oh, for sure. Like, the queen of infomercials was like Chalene Johnson back in the day,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
Like,
hell yeah. I have all her stuff.
yes.
Did you ever get her DVD? Because it was those DVD days. Or even her VHS shit that long ago.
Well,
But
I
did you
did,
ever
definitely.
no, but did you
That's
ever
that's
get
really
it and, like,
funny.
put it on and sat on the couch and watched it?
Watch it. I feel really left out right now because you're drinking a really cool drink and I don't have one. Can you share
Yeah, it's my
what do you
matcha green tea. It's
Oh my
yummy.
gosh, I'm gonna have to buy that when I go to Sprouts. Okay.
Oh, no, Costco.
Oh, Costco. Okay.
The sugar in it is dates. It's really good.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. That was that was my brain. But yeah, I definitely have watched videos, which is so funny because the thing that helped me get the most fit was Beachbody workouts, and they were infomercial originally, right? Yeah, I definitely have sat though and watched it.
I used to, like, because I love Shanti. I still love
Mhm.
Shanti.
Me too.
So I sent away for all of those, and it's like, this is the thing that's going to change my life. Like, this is the thing. And then I get the thing that's going to change my life, and I literally put it in there, and I sit and I watch it to see if I like it.
Oh, yes.
It's actually doing it, right?
Mark said
So,
VHS. Yeah, they were VHS. You had to put them in there. And then if you didn't have a remote, you had to get up and go stop.
right? So our intention alone, is not enough, because that's not how change happens in the body, right? And so 21 to 25 consecutive experiences just for new neural synaptic connections to start to form. And it is going against the grain. It's going against everything that you have done in terms of the patterns in your life. It actually takes 66 experiences for the brain to start to create the nodules where it actually protects it, or at least it's starting to create these grooves in the brain.
Mhm.
And then change, actually, I'm going to tell you all how long it takes change to actually occur. It's 6 to 9 months of dedicated, consistent experiences. All the while, your body and that little voice inside of you and your emotional center is trying to pull you out of the new pattern.
Yep.
So it's like, it always reminds me whenever I tell the stories, like the crabs, where like one is trying to get out and the rest of them like, where the hell are you going?
Yeah.
We don't go that way. They pull it back down. That's sort of the same thing that happens when we are trying to create change.
Yeah.
Our prefrontal cortex knows, that part of our brain knows all of the things we need to do. But inside of us, past experiences, beliefs, undercurrent of beliefs around worthiness, that's stirring and mixing around. And so it's almost like an internal war that happens.
Yeah. I resonate with that war a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like how you use the word emotional center. It's not something that I use in my coaching or language. And it really resonated with me because if you completed your story, what happens next? Like the tacos are there.
You eat the damn tacos, Nina, don't you?
Okay. Yeah, yeah. But I really want people to know what happens next in the emotional center. Here's what it looks like. You eat it. And then that voice, that I'm gonna beat you up voice starts going at you, that from your emotional center, like Isela's talking about. And it sounds like, I knew you wouldn't be able to do this. See, this is what you do all the time. Just like last year, you're never gonna lose this weight. You're never gonna, whatever the goal is, right? And then you believe that story, and then you feel shame, emotion. And then from shame, if you lean toward food for emotion, you will eat more. You'll micro quit. You'll be like, I knew I couldn't do this. And you'll start looking online for other things because that didn't work. And you throw in the towel. And then that can lead to a week of not being on your diet, or 3 to 6 to 9 months of not being on the diet. right? And so that emotional center is so huge because I always tell people, it's not on the journey. It's not about what you're going to do next week. It's not about what you're going to do Monday. It's about your very next decision. So let's say you ate the burrito. I can't roll an R to say.
Oh, yeah, you can.
So I can't do it. But so let's say you ate it. If you just let it be that, a breakfast burrito, breakfast taco, if you're just like, yeah, I ate that. And then the very next decision was in line with the version you want to be, with the person that you want to be that eats that way, the very next decision, you kept doing it, you would have results over time. If you drop the story you're telling yourself, about the future and how undisciplined you are and you're never going to get there, you just have to drop that story. You have to not believe the ego, the emotional center. And that's the key. It's always the very next step. What can you do in the next 4 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours, 12 hours to be in line with that goal or intention? Mm-hmm. It's never next week. Yeah. Oh, Mark's really talking. I love Mark's comments, by the way. Mark had put up a before and after picture recently. Mm-hmm. It was so good because it wasn't like 3 months ago now, I think it was, I don't remember, Mark, you have to tell
us. 9 years.
Yeah, it was like a decade, right? Yeah. It's like, here's who I used to be. Here's who I am now.
Right.
That is true transformation, right?
Yeah.
I have transformed many times in my life, like temporarily, right? Like I've lost weight and gained it back, many times. Yeah, it's just really wild.
Yeah. So what Mark is saying, small, tiny habits stretch over a long period of time creates compound interest. Yeah. I think that what you're saying, it's not, even though we're talking about weight loss, this is something that a lot of people can relate to. But it really is about everything. The story that we tell ourselves after we do that. And that was something that I really had to work on because I had this, it was like, I was overly obsessed with the what, the why, and the how about, what I ate, when I ate, because I have read all the books. I have done all of the research over many, many years. And so for me, it was this constant state of trying to figure things out instead of just relaxing and really just being with my decision. So if I decided to have the burro, if I have the chorizo or even the cupcake for the story that I was sharing, it's like not having the story after eating it. It's just like I had a cupcake. Yeah. I just had a cupcake. That's it.
That's it. Doesn't mean I'm bad, right? I think we have these labels for food: bad, good, healthy, not healthy, right, wrong. And really, really need to get rid of all those labels, because once you think you ate bad, I hear it all the time. I ate bad today, or once you think you ate bad, you think you are bad.
Yeah. And this is true even if your decision to maybe get more active this year, same thing. Yeah. When you choose not to be active that particular day, or maybe your decision is to be kinder to your partner. Maybe you have a tendency to kind of fly off the handle and you're like, okay, I'm going to be kinder. I'm going to be much more responsive emotionally. I'm going to be aware when I start to, feel my own frustration. And then you slip and all of a sudden you see yourself, becoming overly frustrated. Yeah. It's like even those moments that right after isn't helpful in creating a consistent shift. You have to figure out, why am I responding in the first place? Why am I having that experience in the first place? Yeah. So it's not enough to say, I'm going to be different, because that's not how your body and brain works. Mm-hmm. There's so much more to it. And that's what makes it so complex. And there we go again, hamster wheel situation, where we make this decision to blah, 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 without actually putting things in place to support you along the journey. And I have learned in my my spiritual journey is that it's just ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Life is always about the ebb and flow. And so there are going to be good days and there are going to be more challenging days. And the truth of it is we have to just build our capacity,
Mhm.
which is to be able to acknowledge and understand what's happening within us emotionally and to be able to move ourselves through the experience. And truthfully, when we get better at that, noticing what we're feeling, just noticing, we don't have to label it. We don't even have to say what it is, just noticing, being with it, and then allowing it to move through us, we get better at moving through these difficult experiences with grace and with ease and without actually punishing ourselves.
Yeah, that part is really important, right? Because imagine taking, if you write with your right hand, whatever hand you write with, and you put the pen from that hand you write with to the other hand and you start to write, it's not going to be super easy or clear. And if you, it's like beating yourself up for not getting it right, right? Not being able to write like you could with the other hand. And most of my clients, most people, they tend to beat themselves up when they don't show up the way they want to. But if you can, grace was the word you said, if you can give yourself grace, an understanding of your human experience, especially if you snap at your partner and you don't want to, it's like, can you sit back and say, okay, what do I want to try next time? Do I want to take a couple deep breaths? Do I need to take a step away? Is it, is it that I'm expecting them to be different than they are? Whatever that is, you can use that same technique with food or not working out. It's like, how do I convince myself to eat that? How do I convince myself not to? Like, really giving yourself grace will help you gain more awareness. And then with that awareness, you can take the next step. But if all
Right.
you do is just beat yourself up, you'll miss the awareness, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not only will you miss the awareness, but if you are watching this, I don't know if you'd be watching this if you do this, but I'm going to say this because there are a lot of people who do this. Blame others. Blame others. So the story that I shared about the food at the Maria's birthday, and we go, "Oh, fucking Maria, man, why does she do that? She always does that. She always messes up my diet. She knows right?
Ah, so good.
Right?
Insert
Or
husband in there. That's a common one. Insert husband. He's
that's
always
a
doing
big one. Yeah.
that.
And that's true for anything, right? If she just wouldn't have said it like that, then I wouldn't have gotten mad, right? Where we blame someone else.
Yeah.
And that's where we're functioning from a place of just unconscious awareness, where we are the victim that we tell.
Yeah.
And so notice if you do that. Notice if you do that. Okay. So Mark is saying that he blamed his Thea for feeding him too much.
Yes. All
He
the
says,
tias always like to make homemade tortillas. What is up with that?
I don't eat bad food anymore. I eat fun food sometimes. Oh, that's a really good way to frame that, Mark. That's a really good way to frame that. Fun food sometimes. So I think all of this to say is it's the reason why I don't like New Year's resolutions, because it goes against the science of
Yes.
what we know about change. And 6 to 9 months to start to implement something where it becomes, I think it's Dr. Joe Dispenza many years ago. I'm talking many years ago. I read all of his books and I went to all of his sessions. And I'll tell you, if you go to his like long week, I think they're like a week long retreat, they start at like a normal, decent time, like 8 o'clock in the morning. And each day he pushes it back. And then the next thing you know, you're like there at 4 o'clock in the morning doing an 8-hour meditation. I was like, what did I sign up for? Yeah, it was crazy. But he talks about, that's where I first learned about this process that, in the beginning, you gather information. So you think about it. And then you practice it. There's an intentional practice of actually doing it until you are it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that journey of thinking and doing and then being actually is kind of where my idea of love being came from. And so it's like we think we get all the information, we know that we know the things, and then we intentionally put practice into place. And
Hmm.
you practice, and that's the ebb and flow piece. Some days are good and some days are not so good, and that's okay. It's
Yeah.
nothing to do with who I am. It's just an experience that I'm having. But the more you're able to extend those experiences from being a negative, challenging experience to just being an experience, and you're able to move through it, building your capacity to be able to move through it without becoming, emotionally um, overwhelmed
Yeah.
and triggered, because sometimes this can be triggering. To really look at patterns and habits and behaviors and beliefs about self. I mean, there's a lot to it, but you stick with it. You stick with it. And eventually what happens is you just become it.
Yeah.
And then you don't even have to think about it anymore. It just is a
Mhm.
part of your everyday experience. But that, I say, hey, it'll take somebody 30 years of perfecting their life, right? Perfecting all of the things. It's not gonna like disappear in 6 months.
No, that's a really good way to look at it, right? Like for about 6 years, I did workouts every morning, like high intensity interval workouts with weights every morning. And then the last 2 years, I haven't been doing them every morning, and I have been very inconsistent with movement. And my body hasn't, it still wants to do that. Like it still has a desire to do that. And so it's not completely gone, the habit of doing it. I'm just shifting out of the time I was doing it. I was doing it at like 5:30 or 6 in the morning. And I notice a desire to start doing it again.
Mm,
And it's just not that neural pathway. Those neurosynaptic connections are not gone all the way. It's just I am not doing it the way I was doing it before. The body remembers, like, this is what we do. Right.
mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm looking at the time, and one of the things that we had talked about when we started doing this was that we were going to keep these short. And here we go.
All right. Well, this is what we'll do next time. We'll keep it shorter next time.
Yeah, we will definitely try next time. But
Right.
it
Today, I don't think we tried at all.
now we just keep going and going and going. It is an ever evolving process, Mark. Yeah. So that the picture from 2015. Was your Thea's fault? It was all the Thea's she
Um,
was giving you? Yeah. Yeah,
mhm.
I get it. I
Yeah,
like Thea's too. Not gonna lie.
me too.
Hmm. All righty. Any final thoughts, Nina, for today?
I'm just sending you, whoever's listening now and on the replay, just so much love for your human experience, for our human experience. Um, I am you. You are me.
Mhm.
Mhm. What about you?
Um, we signed up for this shit. That's what I'm gonna say.
I love you.
Nina, Nina is sending love. And I do. I send you love. And I'm a strong believer. I am you, you are me. We are of this oneness, but we signed up for this shit. So that's what keeps me like when I'm in a funky place, I'm like, look, Isela, you signed up for this shit. You signed up for coming at this time on this planet right now with all of the stuff happening in the world. You signed up for this. You came here. You signed up to be a part of this family, of my extended family. Like I signed up for this shit. So I've got to figure out how I'm going to navigate through this, and I'm going to do it with fire and with ease, and I'm going to get through it. I'm going to get
That's
through it.
amazing. That lights me up. Just what you just said. I just feel like fired up about life,
Yeah.
right? Like we have this gift of life, right? Like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get it. Go after whatever it is that you desire.
Yep.
And just remember you have a human experience and
Yep.
you have a human brain and body. And
And you have angels that are supporting you. Do not forget that. You have angels and guides that are supporting you, and they're there to guide you. We just gotta quiet the noise inside of you so that you can actively hear them. Um, at the deepest level of who you are an incredible divine being, and that part of you is talking to you, is consistently ideas. It's consistent. The challenge is we don't always hear it. And so that's what this human experience is for. It's for us to be able to move through it so that we can access that divine wisdom. Okay. All right. Stephanie says, thank you for today. Let's read Stephanie's. Much appreciated, received with love and appreciation. What an incredible journey we all signed up for. Love it all, good and bad. That's right. That's perfect, Stephanie.
Love
That's
it,
perfect.
Stephanie.
All right, everyone. We will see you tomorrow. We will be on at our regular time. I hope you have a beautiful New Year's Day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.